In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Trump's one message to UK and Europe as he ruthlessly destroys them after congregating all together yesterday in Downing Street. Of course, we've seen the images, of this almost emergency meeting at this London summit as a lot of European leaders all gathered together to discuss the steps moving forward with regard to Ukraine and Russia. This, of course, follows the row that erupted in the White House on Friday, and this is a subject that, of course, is dividing a lot of people. People don't really know which side to sit on with regard to it, and in my personal opinion, I do feel, from a UK perspective, it's very, very scary times. You know what Keir Starmer said yesterday with regard to potentially putting boots on the ground into Ukraine to fight Russians or put aircrafts in the sky within Ukraine does scare me ever so slightly, because formerly, if you know me, guys, I was in the military before, and this is not something I want our young men to be going and doing and fighting in that foreign land for this. It's just something I would never want to see any British blood spilled over there in that foreign land. It also is a bit weird for me as well with regard to this sort of isolating of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, of course, trying to work on a peace deal, and people say, yeah, he's doing it on Putin's terms, and Zelensky, of course, has a right. I do believe that Zelensky has a right, of course, in a way, with regard to his situation. Look, he doesn't want Putin to keep coming back and invading, and if there's a peace deal there, it has to be suitable for Ukraine as well. So I do get the big picture, and I do get it entirely. But this is British Standard. I want to focus on us more so with regards to our country. Now, we've just pledged billions of pounds for Ukraine again, a new loan, then of course a new defence agreement that has seen billions being played, which basically puts the £22 billion black hole. It just debunks it completely. There is no £22 billion black hole, because we're taking money away from our farmers, we're taking away our money from our pensioners and all of these kind of things and sending it over to Ukraine. Something is very, very fishy about that, and it doesn't sit well with me. However, Donald Trump has sent a one-worded message, well, not one-worded message, he sent a sentence out yesterday in a post, and it did basically ruthlessly destroy Europe. Took a dig at them. This was all whilst, of course, following their sort of meeting yesterday, and then simply said this. Let's have a little look at what he said. He said, "We should spend less time worrying about Putin and more time worrying about migrant rape gangs, drug lords, murderers, and people from mental institutions entering our country, so that we don't end up like Europe." Trump has obviously sent that as a message following, of course, that meeting at the summit yesterday. And that's a dig. That's a massive dig at the likes of Europe. But there is a lot of truth in what he's currently saying at this moment in time, especially from a British standpoint. Our country, guys, is in absolute shit state. Our country is in absolute shit state right now as a nation. We are on our knees, essentially, but our full focus is on foreign lands and, funding wars between Ukraine and Russia. That scares me a lot. The fact that even potentially a British soldier may fire a shot, potentially at a Russian soldier, and a Russian soldier could potentially fire a shot at a British soldier, that is not going to end well whatsoever. And the state of our country, the state of our borders, I think GB News published yesterday that 500 illegal migrants just came into our country yesterday. And that's another frightening battle that we're currently facing, but we can't deploy our armed forces to secure our own borders at this moment in time. And this post certainly sums up Europe as a whole. It certainly sums up the UK as a whole at this moment in time, because we're focusing on the wrong things and not focusing on the right things within our country first. We're making out as if we're in a superior position at this moment in time as a nation with a perfect example, and we've got no problems whatsoever. But we have all of those problems that is being addressed there by Donald Trump in that sort of message yesterday. And we've had our problems with the migrant rape gangs. We've had this problem. We've got a massive problem with illegal immigration. We've got massive amounts of problems with knife crime and murders and people from mental institutions entering our country. We've got so many unvetted illegal immigrants just cutting around the streets of the United Kingdom at this moment in time. And Donald Trump is highlighting it. He's putting extremely America first. His principles is America first the whole way through. Wherever you thought and what your thoughts are with regards to the row, of course, in the White House on Friday, Donald Trump has the Americans' interest first and foremost as the priority. Unlike previous regimes under the Biden administration, that wasn't the case. He's not, again, anti-giving money to sort of Ukraine. He's wanting to make steps towards a peace deal and focus on his country first and foremost alone. If Keir Starmer cared so much more passionately about our country and the state of our country, the state of illegal immigration, the state of crimes, all of this crime-riddled, pensioners freezing to death, taxing our farmers into inexistence, then he would be a fantastic leader if he cared that passionately as he does about the conflict in Ukraine as he's taking on this leadership. But again, a lot of all of our situations need to be stemmed at home, and we're certainly not doing at this moment in time. And Trump can see that from a European standpoint as he sent that message, literally ruthlessly destroying all of the European leaders that were taking part in this yesterday. Now, going forward, I do hope, of course, we as a country, again, I know everybody's kind of split, and even the viewers of British Stand, on British Stand, we're all fairly usually all together with regard to our opinions and our thoughts. We're like-minded people. We kind of share the same values, whilst not everything. But I've seen a lot in the comments that there has been a little bit of a division with regard to this in particular subject. But I really, really do hope that it certainly doesn't divide us and our movement. But I also hope that it doesn't ruffle any more feathers with the United States. I really do not want to see our country be an enemy towards Donald Trump and the United States. I just don't want that to ever be the case. I do think what they're doing, people can see the positives in what happened yesterday with regard to the Europeans, and some heck would say, yes, we should be supporting Ukraine with boots on the ground. But again, a lot of people share my thoughts and opinions with regard to it, and I really, really don't feel comfortable with sending our young men and women out to the front lines of Ukraine and spending billions, sheer amounts of money, billions and billions and billions funding this, when I just point out the same thing every single time. Our borders are not secure. Our people are at risk within our country. We've got so much freaking problems. And the small things like the pensioners' winter fuel allowance being stripped away from them due to this £22 billion black hole, but we can fund these foreign wars, really does make me sick to my stomach. But Donald Trump, of course, sending that message. Guys, do let me know your thoughts on that down there in the live chat. I'm going to take some of your reaction with regard to what Donald Trump said. Do you think he's right? And what do you think about the whole situation in general with regard to the sort of row that erupted on Friday? I know we haven't really spoken on a live stream together since that happened. But what do you think about the sort of row that erupted on Friday? What was your thoughts and opinions? What do you kind of stand upon? Are you in support of Keir Starmer in the country? Are you kind of on the European side? Do you think we should be doing stuff? Or do you kind of see what Donald Trump is doing? Where is your sort of standpoint? I know it's a pretty grey area for many, so I do want to spark a bit of a conversation here in the live chat whilst we're live, and maybe we can throw a few ideas at each other and speak about it. But do let me know your thoughts in the comments. Disband the BBC, love the name, says, how can Keir deploy British troops for peacekeeping and British special military advisors and mercenaries have been confirmed killed in action on the contact line? Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's the war there, the conflict there really frightens me. It's not when I was serving in the military. Whilst I didn't go anywhere in terms of combat action or anything like that, the sort of way of the combat fighting was the biggest threat was sort of IEDs and shooting. Nowadays, seeing this modern warfare advance, it's literally drone warfare. It's absolutely frightening that these guys are just Russians are controlling these drones from miles away and just pinging them just like that, almost like a video game. That really frightens me from a tactical standpoint. It's a horrifying thought that we could have British troops on that ground just getting picked apart by these Russian drones. That is absolutely frightening. It's absolutely horrifying. And I would never recommend anyone join the military at this moment in time. ever, and especially not to go over there and fight for Ukraine. But I think it is very concerning. I really do think it's very concerning having British troops on the floor. I know Rupert Lowe asked a lot of questions earlier on today what British troops on the ground would mean. What would it mean? Would they be on the front line? Would it be taking operations as it was sort of like in Afghanistan and Iraq? Would it be that sort of involvement? Or would it be sort of behind enemy lines? Would it be more of a training thing or more of a logistical standpoint? Is that what they mean by boots on the ground? We don't know the full scope of the picture just yet, but certainly I would never be in favour for frontline action for any of the British soldiers going out and fighting within Ukraine against these Russians. Absolutely not. It would be tight. It would be frightening. It really, really would. James Mole says our country should come first. Absolutely. I mean, it's frustrating. It really is frustrating just seeing all of these checks just being signed. There's almost nothing. There's no discussion where these checks are being signed from. Obviously, the taxpayers are footing the bill, but the fact that our military spending, our defense spending itself is on its knees at this moment in time, our military is not in a state to be able to go and fight a war by any means, by the way. But just signing these checks while we're at the bare bones ourselves from a defense standpoint, and we're already getting intruders coming in day by day. As stated, GB News reported that 500 illegal immigrants have crossed the last week into the United Kingdom. They published that yesterday, of course. We're currently got no security with regard to our own defense. And that's a massive, massive problem in itself. But that's something that just doesn't get tackled. We're already fighting a war itself, the battle of stopping people coming across on dinghies. And clearing up the mess that's within this country at this moment in time. But no focus and no money goes towards that. It just goes towards Ukraine and fighting their wars at this moment in time. And apparently we're taking leadership over this. And again, I've seen a lot of the political establishment, whether it's the Tory party, Reform, all sort of unanimous that we should be helping Ukraine. Again, I can stand by that. You know, I know the history of Ukraine about them handing over their nuclear weapons and all of these kind of things, and then obviously NATO and all this sorts of stuff. But at the same time, it just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't sit right with me the fact that the UK is paying this large amounts of money when old people, pensioners, are sitting freezing in their homes. It just doesn't sit well with me whatsoever. And for the young guys as well. You know, the guys and girls, should I say, guys and girls that would be sent out to fight this is horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. I would hate to be a parent with a son or a daughter in the military at this moment in time. It'd be horrifying. And I really hope that doesn't happen. I really hope that no British troops are sent onto the front line in Ukraine. No way. It's horrible. Gino says, Starmer has now sat in front of the world's press and said we have free speech in the UK. So it's up to all to protest peacefully, all on this wrong with this in the country and the government. Well, we know that he was chatting absolute bollocks. And I think I heard Sadiq Khan yesterday, of course, in the LBC interview say the exact same thing, that we've got free speech within this country. Who are they kidding on? Who are they kidding on? Where are they going against the evidence that they're coming up with this sort of narrative that we've got free speech? As if the summer never happened. As if a lady at a grandma last week didn't just get a knock on the door from the police talking about her comments made on Facebook. We have not got free speech whatsoever. The thing with Apple as well, it's untrue, and the fact that JD Vance and Donald Trump kind of sinned through that BS was quite enlightening, because the day after they did say that we spoke to him, we warned him that is not a thing that's going to be happening, this can't be happening within the UK as such, but more so from the American side of trying to stop and suppress their free speech. So I think they seen through his BS on that day, but everybody else can see through the BS that we don't have free speech. You have Zelensky to make a peace deal. Yeah, I mean, it's I do get it. I do get it. By the way, I do get the situation with regard to Zelensky in a way. I'm not totally 100% kind of in support of him individually. I do think there's something a little bit sus going on, just my opinion. But I do get it from a Ukraine standpoint. They don't want to keep on having Putin break deals and kind of things and keep on invading, and they want their land back, all of these kind of things as British people we would want as well when coming up with some sort of peace deal and peace agreement. So I do get the side that he's on, but the kind of way he goes about it I don't really like. And the fact I think that he wants Ukraine to join NATO is also a very, very scary thing, because if Ukraine were to join NATO, then that would mean that everybody would be involved in this war in Ukraine, because that's a part of sort of NATO's agreement as such, that if it invade a NATO country, they all come knocking on the door. So that would be quite terrifying indeed as well. Richard Warner says, is this a Putin lover podcast? No, it's not a Putin lover podcast at all, mate. It's a British stand. It's about Britain as such and the impact it has on our country. So you're telling me, Richard, that you want young British men and women to go out to Ukraine and fight. You want us to keep footing the bill, these billions and billions of pounds, to fund Ukraine's military in their fight against Russia. I think it's scary, the fact that we're even funding to fight against Russia. I do not want to be on the bad side of Russia. I don't. I really don't, as a country, want to be on the bad side or the wrong side of Russia. It's just not something that I would want to be a part of. And certainly for people that are our brothers and sisters, our sons and daughters, I don't want them fighting this drone warfare. It's suicidal. You're seeing the stories of the mercenaries. You're seeing the stories of the 18-year-old boy. I think I seen an article about him a month ago. But certainly he went out there to fight a young British boy, 18 years old, and his first mission ended up getting blown up by a drone, killed. First mission, straight away. It's terrifying. It's not something that I would want our people to be going on fighting. It's not our problem, in my opinion. You can talk about it all you like with regard to Ukraine, yes, but we've done a lot for Ukraine. Now it's looking to try and support that peace deal, but certainly not with British troops on the ground. I can't stand by that. I can't stand by allowing other human beings that potentially are brothers, sisters, sons and daughters to go out to that foreign land and give their life away for what? For what? For what? It's like the old Afghanistan tale. It's like the Iraq tale, the 636 that died in those two wars, and God rest their souls. But looking back, you're looking at the way that Afghanistan is now, where the Taliban have taken over. What was the point in the bloodshed? What was the point in the deaths? And I don't like to speak about brothers and sisters like that, but what looking at it now in history, what was that bloodshed for? Because we've seen the Taliban completely take over Afghanistan in general now anyway. So what was it all for? But with regard to Ukraine, I just don't want to see that. I don't want to see any deaths. I want peace as much as the next person. But we need to be working with the United States as well to be coming up with some sort of agreement, whilst trying to get the best for Ukraine at the same time. I do believe that. A lot of people need to pick up history book on Ukraine and World War II and up to the present day. Let's not the fox in the hen house. This is unbelievable. Do they even teach history in the UK any longer? They do. They do teach it. But it doesn't mean we need to have our blood shedded on the fields. It doesn't. There's no way you can keep on saying that all you like, but for me that's just not going to change my opinion on it. I don't think that we should be having, certainly we'd have to have a look at what this would entail, but I don't support it. I don't want British troops on the ground in Ukraine. Not going to happen. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Do let me know your thoughts on everything over the last sort of week or so with regard to this Ukraine fiasco. Let me know your thoughts on Donald Trump's comments to Europe, and do let me know your thoughts on anything else down there in the comment section below. We can carry on the conversation in the comments. But thank you for tuning in, guys. I've been Dan. This has been British Dan.